December 3rd, right? Another December 3rd, when a lot of agencies, institutions, businesses out there are going to be making a big deal about persons with disabilities, right? Only on December 3rd. They're going to ask some blind person, right? They're going to ask one of their blind, the only one or the couple of blind individuals that they have employed to take a photo, to be part of the photo and post all over the social media with beautiful thoughts, how inclusive they are, right? This only happens on Disability Day, December 3rd, or, maybe on the day of the White Cane Safety Day and other celebrations that have to be with the disability. But the rest of the year, no one even think about us, right? No politician, not even Biden, no presidents ever mention the real social issues that people with disabilities experience, right? Anywhere around the world. We are never mentioned by anyone, right? There is always a whole thing going on with the social issues related to, com, you know, coming from a particular ethnic background, from minorities, right? But never they mention that there is brown people that is blind. Never they mention that on top of being black, we are blind, right? Or they are blind. Never they talk about how more than 70%, they say that is 70%. I say that is more than 70% of people with disabilities, and in our case, blind people, are unemployed, right? Of course, there is always going to be a difference of opinions with people out there, our blind people, those who are lucky or happen to be lucky. And I will add on that, because I know some of you some of you are going to question that. But if you were lucky enough to get a job, hey, uh, we support you, happy for you, right? But what about employment for people, with disabilities? What about employment for people with visual disabilities, right? We always say that out there they usually will prefer the person that is in a wheelchair, right, than the blind person. And I'm going just to stop here to see if I have anyone. Let me see. Okay. So I don't really, I'm going to be doing more live videos, but I don't really do this a lot. I'm just going to go ahead and go on sharing with you guys. Hopefully I'm going to be looking at the camera, and hopefully this light that I have is not going to just end up killing my eyes. I do have my sunglasses somewhat over here in case I just start getting that horrible headache that we people with RP get, right? So International Day of Persons with Disabilities, right? Everyone makes a big deal out there today. I mean, if you go on their social media, they just they presume how inclusive they are. Now the question is, are they really inclusive, or are they just trying to advertise themselves, right? Reading on social media and reading online, just to refresh my memory, it says, why do we celebrate International Day of Persons with Disabilities, right? It is supposed to be a day to promote and raise awareness about people with disabilities, to promote and raise the well-being, right? To promote the well-being of persons with disabilities, right? Only on December 3rd. But what about the rest of the year? What about those days when we people with a visual disability do not have transportation? Or when we spend 2 hours in a bus, right? A share ride, and you pass by your house 3 times, 4 times, even if you're just going to a place that is about 15 minutes away, right? Or it's just you're the first one that they pass, by your house, right? What about when you do not work and you don't have the money to pay for the transportation, to pay for the ride? To many people, even my blind people, this is gonna sound like, oh, Anna is just complaining. Anna is complaining. Oh, it's just because she's depressed. Or it's because she has not accepted the disability. It's because she has not accepted the blindness. Not having money for transportation and having the proper accommodations, the right services for people with disabilities. So for those who actually have a job, they can go to work without having an issue every single day, with these transportation programs that we have, right? What about access to education, right? For us people with disabilities, or overall for people with disabilities, not only the blind, we need to be really good at what we do, right? And there is always, or there will always be someone who will tell us like, right, we don't really hire you guys because you don't really, you're blind and you're not really prepared. You're not really skilled. You're not really trained. You don't have the skills. But in reality, what they're telling us, you don't have this sight. I've been told that when I went for to apply for a job, when I went to a job interview, right? So if we don't have the money, even for transportation, how do we go out there, even if we know how to go to the restaurant or how to go shopping or how to go for a walk, right? Or how to just go out there like most people, right? Well, we're going to have to depend on someone helping us in the United States. Social Security, right? SSI, supplemental social income, right? The supplemental, if you have never worked. SDI, or the disability check for someone that has work and accumulated some dollars, right? But overall, you're going to have to rely on someone, with the family, right? To live with them, stay with mom, stay with dad, stay with someone that is going to be renting you a room. Like I know many people, right, from the Spanish-speaking community, that they actually rent a place because they cannot afford to own their own place. Even if they have some income from Social Security, they do not qualify for those housing programs or those locations because nowadays they require for you to make 4 times more, 4 times more than what the rent is going to be, right? Besides many other qualifications that they're requiring right now. So without money, we the blind are stuck at home, right? I always say that, there is this whole thing in around the world that wanting money is bad, is something bad. That wanting money it's not good, right? That money comes from the devil, they say in Spanish. Really? But what do we do without money, right? That is a whole thing, it's a brainwash that comes from rich people, from the ones that have money and want the poor to believe that, right? So they just conform, so they just, stay happy with whatever they pay them. That's exactly what it is, right? Poor people have believed around the world that wanting money is bad, and it's not. We need money. We need money to get the basic, you know, um, to provide for the basic needs that we humans need, any human around the world, right? Shelter, food, and those things that we need, medicine and whatever, right? Here in the United States, we have the ADA, but let's talk about the ADA. And let me see if anyone is here. Exactly. $25 to take Uber. I take Uber all the time. Rafa and I, you live in Massachusetts, Rafa, so we have talked about these programs for the blind. They just have those programs to just like, as a way to, like when you just give a kid a toy so the kid stop crying and having the temper tantrum. They think our cry is a temper tantrum. Is it? Is it really a temper tantrum? Good afternoon. definitely, Rafa, we need to change our mind. Yeah, and there is. I've been talking about this for a while, right? On Clubhouse and not on YouTube. And YouTube is my niche. Is my favorite app, honestly. And this is what I make some dollars, right? And any dollars count. Honestly, when we are blind, any dollars count, you guys. So going back to the whole idea about those who tell the poor that wanting money is bad, right? That you shouldn't be I hear people saying like, oh Anna, I'm not like those rich people that want money. I go like, does that makes you a better person? That makes you struggle, especially if you have a disability, right? Because as I was saying, not only there is black people and brown people and white people who also get discriminated because, oh my gosh, don't even open up a white museum because all the black and the brown are going to get upset about it. It's a whole issue in the United States, and they're stuck into that whole theme, which is important, don't misunderstand me. But what about people with disabilities, right? What about people with disabilities? What about blind people? We do have ADA, right? And as we have mentioned on Clubhouse, the ADA needs to be revised. They need to revise the ADA, right? Is it really working for us here in the United States? What about for people outside the United States, right? I always say that the blindness and the disability is not only here in the United States, it's outside the United States. We have many people that is going blind right now, people that no matter where they are from, whenever I talk to people in Turkey, people in India, people in Ecuador, in Chile, the ones from Portugal, everywhere, uh, we at the end, we experience the same situation. No politician, nobody even mentioned us whenever they're talking about creating whatever jobs, right? For minorities here in the United States, right? Minorities. I can never say that word. English is my second language, so there you go. So they're always talking about creating access, and because of everything that has happened, right? In the last years with the police and some ethnic specific groups, they go on and on and on and on and on talking about it, but they never mention us. Biden ever mention us, right? Do they ever mention uh, employment for people with disabilities? Employment for disabilities, people with disabilities? No, they don't. Now, the American with disabilities in the United States has actually helped, from my point of view. It has helped, right? But is it reinforced though? We have to struggle every single day. For those who are guide dog users, you know how many Uber and Lyft drivers have left without me? Lyft has even 4 times, right? And people have had to pull me back so they wouldn't run over my guide dog, right? Or I wouldn't fall when opening up the door and getting in the car, right? What about when we apply for jobs? And they're really nice and they tell us, look, Juana, you're so brilliant, you're so smart. You have 2 master's degree? Yeah, I have 2 master's degrees. I do, right? But as I always tell my mom, when she says like, oh, your brothers are so nice to you, they love you. They show you off with their coworkers and they say, Anna's so smart. She's blind and this and that. I say, well, mom, those compliments don't really help Anna, right? When it's 105 degrees out there and they pass by and later on they tell me like, I saw you walking on the street with your shopping and your guide dogs and your guide dog, you guys look so cute. That's exactly what I tell those employers when they compliment me, right? When they say like, you have such a beautiful guide dog. You are so beautiful. Who did your nails? Wow, how do you do it? I'm so proud of you. Those compliments don't help. What helps is when we actually get higher, right? Especially if we have the qualifications. And I'm not only talking about degrees. Degrees help, but it doesn't mean that just because you don't have a degree, you don't have the qualifications, you don't have the skills, you don't have the abilities. We do. Many of our blind people actually end up getting a job at some institution for the blind, some agency for the blind, because who else than us to know how to use accessible technology, right? Or who else than us to know how to read Braille for those who are really good on Braille, right? But if you look at those agencies, it's usually 1, 2, or 3 people working there, right? And the rest of the staff, guess what? They're the ones who are getting the salary, right? I was just talking on social, on one of my postings on Facebook, that a lot of these institutions have thousands of blind volunteers who go and kill time over there to get out of the house and maybe to help and share their knowledge. But the ones that are actually getting their weekly salary are the sighted staff, right? They are the ones that are making the money. So what is going on with ADA, with American with Disabilities, right? And this is the case, and I'm just talking about the United States because this is where I live, where we have all these programs. And don't misunderstand me, I'm grateful. Compared to my Mexico, I would not have what I have here, right? Maybe I would have more. A lot of my blind people they make money by singing out there on the street, right? And I've heard that they make even 3 times more money than when they work at some institution for the blind. That's why they sing out there, right? Oh my gosh, they can actually just do whatever they want out there, open up, even work from home. Here we cannot do that. And when I say yes, we can work from home if you're working from a company, but that I just open up my therapy, my private practice here, so I don't have to pay for a place, right? We don't. So those are some of the advantages in other countries where you actually can go out there and sell oranges and make your money every single day, right? The United States is different, right? So what about the American with Disabilities? It has helped, right? So from my point of view, it needs to be revised, right? And how do we convince them to do that? Well, that is, from my point of view, one of the things that Rafa just mentioned, it is has to do with our mentality, Rafa, but not only the blind or the persons with disabilities. It has to do with the mentality of everyone. And I understand what you're talking about, but from my point of view, what's going to make a change and what's going to make a difference and a change, is if groups of people get involved, right? If those 3 groups of people don't get involved, nothing will happen. Let me see if any one of you are here. All right, thank you, Amy. I'm reading comments here. Yeah, it is. It is almost like a lottery. Yeah, Rafa, we have to create our own empire, which is usually what we end up doing, our own business, right? Let me see. Okay, the light in front of me is just killing my eyes, but let me see. All right, so, from my point of view, 3 groups of people are the ones that need to get involved, right? Definitely the first ones. on Clubhouse, we always say that we have to make the wheel squeak. We people with disabilities are the ones who have to start using our voices to make a noise, right? Otherwise, nobody else is going to say, as I mentioned, nobody else is going to be talking about us. They only do on December 3rd, right? They make it seem like if they actually have so many blind people hired at their institution when you go on their website, right? But we just had Giving Tuesday, and all of these agencies online were asking for donations. and then you actually not don't even get a free copy of a free piece of braille paper from some institutions. And when you apply for those programs like rehab programs, well, you have to wait for even a year to get a response, right? Well, I can say a lot about that, right? So with the blind, with the blind in this case, because this is blind with a vision, and the biggest vision here is the vision of inclusion of people with disabilities. Hashtag what about employment for people with disabilities or with visual disabilities? Hashtag what about proper services, transportation programs, right? So we don't have to stress so much going to work. I mean, it's horrible, you guys, having to struggle with that every single day. Not knowing if your ride is going to be late, if you're going to be late, if you're going to get in trouble. That has been, and it's my situation, right? Education, right? The schools. Yeah, we have a lot of accommodations, and more we're getting those, but it's always a struggle to get your books on electronic format or whatever, however you request those books on time, right? Or those locations where we call for help and them telling you like, oh, it's because we don't have many people like you. We don't really help many people like you, right? So nobody else is going to be thinking about it, only us the blind. We're the ones who struggle with money to travel like people do, right? To actually have the money to pay someone that assists us to go and travel. Very often I have the money and I have the time to go places, and then I go like, oh, I'm totally blind. And people don't volunteer for you to just take you and pay their own trip, right? We have to pay. Like one of my blind friends used to say years ago, Anna, they even charge us to put a nail on the wall if you want to put a picture up there. That's true. We have to pay for it, right? So if we don't have the money, well, nobody other than us is going to be thinking about it. So we are the number one group of people that is critical in this whole picture of the vision of inclusion of people with disabilities, right? I always picture this vision of inclusion of people with disabilities as a puzzle, right? A puzzle that needs to be completed, a puzzle that looks beautiful of us being included in the workforce mainly, right? Having the proper transportation where we don't have to struggle every single F day, right? The proper accommodations in the education area, and of course social media is getting better, right, in the communications and all this accessibility that we have. That makes a big difference, and it's making a big difference for me. YouTube is pretty accessible, and I'm able to do this by myself, right? Because nobody else will actually say like, hey Anna, do you need to advertise your whole vision of inclusion of people with disabilities, right? Not even I get the support from my blind people, because they go like, oh, Anna is depressed. They probably used to tell Martin Luther King, like, you're crazy. You're fighting for nothing, right? He had a dream and I have a dream. I do. Because it's painful living with all those situations, you guys. I always say, like, the world is so beautiful. There are so many things that I want to see out there, right? And with money, I would be able to do it, right? And many of my people would be able to do it. But no, we have to pay for over like $25 back and forth. A day is already $50. And then if you have to make an extra stop, like people who drive do it, it's not doable, right? Right? So we actually have to be the ones that are going to be, we have to be making the wheels squeak, right? Talk about it. Use our voice to actually share all over your social media about this, right? Open up a radio show. I always invite everyone through any social media that you want to do or you feel comfortable with, talk about these topics, right? But we are also critical in this whole puzzle of the vision of inclusion of people with disabilities when we actually really take the time to train ourselves, to learn and know as much as we can in any area that you're interested in. I agree. Getting all the degrees that I got is not the only way, right? But if we actually want to have the opportunity to even just apply for a job, We have to stop spending so many days and months and years just downloading applications the way the blind do, right? There are so many distractions. Those who are successful or those famous speakers, they always say that we have to say no 99% of the time. 99% of the time, say no to those distractions, right? Chatting on WhatsApp, chatting here and there, instead of, I don't know, finding a way to do a certificate online that is for free, finding out all the resources, right? Starting really a club that promotes employment for people with disabilities. Yeah, we have some of those on Facebook, right? Facebook groups. But something that where we get more involved, right? Now, the second group of people that I'm going to say that it makes a huge, and the biggest difference is society as a whole, where we are all included, right? But I'm just going to say people. People that I know very often we actually laugh and get upset because people ask like, oh, how do you do this? Or what are you doing? I was just joking about that I was walking one of these days and I got to the corner and I'm standing there pushing the button and it was sunny and a guy just approached me. He go like in Spanish, so what are you doing here? And I joke about saying, well, I'm just sunbathing here. And he goes, you really like to joke. I go like, no, I actually fell out the window and I end up here, right? It's funny. I don't get upset anymore. But when I go to apply for jobs, and for the VA, I applied for a job a few years ago at the Veterans Administration in Long Beach. And when they found out that I was blind, the lady came to the waiting room and she was told that I was there. She saw me with a guide dog cane. And she goes, oh, I'll call you in 15 minutes. She came back and she goes, I really have to ask, do you know how to use a computer? And I said, oh, with a smiley face, because I put myself in the positive mode that day. Say, I'm not going to get upset and I'm not going to be feeling bad about anything that might, and that worked until I got home. And the next day I got really upset about it, right? I even got home and messaged the guy who was not even the one who was going to give me the job interview, right? So she was supposed to come back in 15 minutes and then I got the interview until it took an hour and 40 minutes for them to call me. Not even with the lady, it was with the main guy. And when I entered that room, there was about like 10 people. I felt like human presence there. They were having a meeting. And my guide Capri was so good, and the volunteer who went and called my name and took me to that specific room, which was not the room where I was going to have the interview, he said, I just hear someone saying, like, show her the chair. Capri was really good, so I just said, I asked her to follow and find the chair. Had all my resumes, right? Resumes where I share about my master's degrees and everything, whatever my employment experience. And his question was, why didn't you apply for the blind and visually impaired department and not here? I'm not gonna make this long, the whole long story. But he said, are you able to see a little bit? I said, no, but I do have the qualifications. Here are my resumes. And he passed, the resumes around, whatever. And he go like, well, if you could see, I would hire you. It didn't even matter. Like a couple of people, one of my Latino, I could tell, excuse my bias, it was one of my Latino people named Fernando. He said like, Ana, this is Dr. Psychologist so-and-so. He said like, address Dr. Katz. Well, remember the name of the guy who told me like, if you could see, I would hire you, right? He go like, why don't we allow Ana to be the pioneer here? His response was like, well, the VA is very slow at giving accommodations for someone that is blind. I could have sued this location, honestly. And he just told like, so-and-so, go ahead and take her to the Department of the Blind and Visually Impaired. Maybe she can apply over there. Why am I sharing this with you? To paint a picture of what we have to go through when we apply for jobs, right? The United States, we have all these rehab programs and whatever else, right? And they pay for our degrees and this and that. But after we graduate, what is the job? Getting a degree is not the most difficult thing, you guys. Not even when we're blind. Hey, with my eyes closed, I was able to get an AA degree, a bachelor's degree, a minor in Spanish, and two master's degree, and I can actually do a PhD and enjoy that long dissertation, right? Will I end up getting a good job like sighted people? No. So these people at this look at the VA and other locations, they belong to society, right? If you happen to go and do a job interview and the person right there is biased, prejudiced, and they are one of those many millions of people who believe in those myths, legends, and stereotypes, ancestral stereotypes, ancestral myths and legends about blind people, well, they're not going to hire us, right? They're not even going to hire us, honestly. They get amazed because, like, wow, Anna has her nails done. Wow, who did your nails? Don't they know that there are nail salons? Where, by the way, we struggle. I just struggle with these nails that I have right now because someone that's, the salon didn't speak English, and I'm blind, and I'm not able to point and say, like, this is what I want, right? So we always say that we have to, on Blind with a Vision, that we have to make ourselves visible, even on social media. And then people go like, but I don't have the money to go out there like you do, Anna, all the time. Well, when you live by yourself or alone and you don't have anybody else's help, you have to do it. We have to do it, right? We have to do it. People care and they don't care. That's my quote in Spanish. People care, but they don't care. So that's when you have to get angry and use that anger to actually become independent, right? And do as much as you can do. There is a song in Spanish, a very famous song that is titled "Uno no es lo que quiere, sino lo que puede ser." It's titled, I don't know if I'm going to be able to translate this. One is not what we want, but what we could be. And I agree that is, I agree. I believe that's the case. I know that we can change our mentality, Rafa, and yeah, for anything, we have to have that mindset. My mindset is this one, what that I'm sharing with you guys. Others try to convince me, like, oh, Anna, you're not gonna make a change. Well, I guess I'm making some changes for some people that message me every single day from different locations in Central and South America and in the United States, that they're actually very depressed because they're blind with retinitis pigmentosa. And they say, I find you. I watch your video. So if that's my change, I'm going to go ahead and continue doing this. We all have different, I don't like to use the word passion, whatever that means, whatever you guys want to do. But society as a whole, we need to make ourselves visible. And again, share about the blind community, because many people don't know about us, right? I'm sure that for those who take Uber and Lyft, I'm sure that drivers have told you, you're the first blind person that I have picked up, right? But then we go back to the first issue that I mentioned. Where is the money for transportation? Where is the money so we can just be active out there? What is the money for, right? Yeah, because we don't have jobs. What is a job, right? So a lot of the society as a whole, they play a big role on right, those companies who preach to be inclusive, right? And then our people on wheelchair, they go to those locations and there is no wheelchair ramp. Wow. Or the restroom is on the second floor, right? So what is inclusivity, right? Or those locations like in Mexico, I went to Cancun, and the hotel had a ramp inside the hotel. I was asked, do you want to use the ramp instead of the stairs? So we're very kind of not very accessible. But actually we laughed because getting to the hotel, the sidewalks were broken. There was no way you could get to the hotel on a wheelchair. Hello? With the blind people, we with the blind can do it, but someone on a wheelchair or someone that has difficulty, moving around, is going to be a challenge, right? All these, businesses and institutions and people and just employers out there, whatever, they belong to society, like to the whole society. So we have a lot of people within the whole group of society, right, as a whole, anywhere around the world, right? And again, we're the ones who have to make the wheels squeak and make ourselves visible, but more than anything, use our voice to share with others what's really going on, right? Now, the third group of people that I really I always mention is lawmakers, right? The ones who actually at the end decide if they pass the law or not, right? They don't even mention us, you guys. They don't never mention anything that they have created or they have done, or any law that, related to jobs and accessibility and access, for people with, I don't know, the whole inclusion of minority groups, right? They are always mentioned, right? But what about us? Lawmakers are, the ones that we really need to get start writing to them, writing letters. Call me crazy, but I have some letters. Now it's been I'm not even gonna say how long. I told myself I'm gonna be sending a letter every single day mentioning this, and I have, right? Some other people might tell me like, oh well, you're just wasting your time. Well, I guess each one of us decide what we want to do or how we want to invest our time, right? So this light is really killing me, and I'm gonna actually wrap it up. But lawmakers are, you know, one of the key critical keys in this whole puzzle, right? In this whole picture of the vision of inclusion of people with visual disabilities, right? They're the ones who we need to push for them to revise the American with Disabilities, right? I know that the United States is a country, we know that the United States is the location, is a country where other countries, around the world actually follow along with, even if some of my blind people around the world will disagree with me, that's how it is. So if changes happen here, they will be incorporated, hopefully be incorporated in other locations. And why not? Like the biggest difficulty is what Rafa mentioned. The mentality, the mindset, is what's going to help us overall. There is a lot of disagreement within the blind community. We don't get along. We don't like each other. We hate each other. We are so envious and jealous about someone actually succeeds. Oh, and that is always the one that is successful and has a great job, right? Employment with a great salary, and say like, I don't know, Anna, what you're talking about. I got this job. I got my degree. I work for it. Well, let me tell you that you just happen to be. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna uh, underestimate your abilities and your degrees and whatever you have. But believe me, Alexa, stop. I set up my alarm with Alexa, and just so to keep track of time. But a lot of these institutions and locations that hire the blind, who are the ones who actually hire a couple of blind people, or two or three, maybe even one, or a person with a disability. A lot of their staff, if you really go and check the location, all the staff is sighted. It's only a few, right? They need someone, as I mentioned before, someone who reads Braille, someone who is the one that represents the blind, whatever, the one that knows the accessible technology with JAWS and the screen readers. Well, you happen to be lucky. You happen to be the one that actually applied for that job at that moment in time, and they hire you. And yes, because you had the qualifications. Yes, I agree. But you cannot say that your situation is a situation for every single blind person in the United States and around the world. We have so many people that I met on Clubhouse, and they're so qualified they speak English fluently, right? They are so fluent. There are so many locations that they need someone that is bilingual in any country. But I'm sure that when they see the disability, I've been told by someone from India, she got a master's in Spanish, and she went to apply for the job, and when they saw that she was blind, she was not even given the opportunity to have the interview. You and I know why. Because of the blindness, right? So what are we actually doing about it? As one of the critical groups here, right? In the whole puzzle of the vision of inclusion of people with disabilities, right? What are we telling this society as a whole? What are we telling lawmakers? What are they actually doing about it? They're not going to do anything about it. And yes, Rafa, I agree. The whole mentality, the mindset that we have is what's going to make a difference. I know, right? That has been the case for me. And we all have the right to believe and do whatever and fight for whatever we want. And this is what I've chosen. But don't tell me that because you actually had a job, that other blind people are lazy. Because that's what I hear from many of you. That blind people, don't know anything and they're lazy. Is it perhaps that within the whole society as a whole, a lot of parents actually disable and cripple their blind children? Over helping them or not helping them at all? We need support, right? Without support, we're not able to make it. How do you think I do it out there all the time? The taxi driver helping me, telling me the door is straight ahead, right? Someone helping me, telling me the cashier is over there. Someone helping me around the store, grabbing my food, right? Having that audible on the street. I mean, I can go on and on. All this technology that we have with Apple, someone thought about us. Did the government ever thought about creating a screen reader for the blind? I mean, it has, we have had a lot of advances within the technology, right? Accessibility, because some person out there actually thought about it, thought about us, creating money, making money, believing the whole thing about maybe inclusion. But those lawmakers, have they ever thought about it? Like, I mean, people tell me how many people that actually is interested in doing a description on their photos on social media, which, by the way, I'm gonna be having these videos here on YouTube, like myself here, even if no one is here. I'm gonna be having like some like videos on 3 minutes. I'm gonna be sharing with you how to use iMovie, the Instagram, and how I use my Facebook and my social media and my YouTube, even if it's just 30 minutes. Instead of spending 24 hours on Clubhouse, where no one is coming to the rooms and no one is paying me, I'm gonna do this. Yeah, money matters. Money matters for the blind, honestly, right? So I'm just gonna go back to say that one of the biggest difficulties is the mindset, right? And not actually reflecting on the whole thing about let's agree to disagree, right? Let's agree to disagree that we blind people are not all the same. We're different and unique individuals. And we don't all do the same. However, when we share the disability, the visual disability, I already know how it is for you out there. Even if you're from India, even if you're in Chile, even if you're in Argentina, Egypt, whatever. When we have a visual disability, I know how it is to get up in the morning, put my feet on the floor, and start watching every step. I know at home we don't have to do that as much, but out there, in the sighted world, which is what will make a difference to the real independence of people with disabilities, it's out there, right? So when I know that you're blind, and when I receive your messages by email, sharing with me that you're going blind or you just had a kid that is blind, I already know how that's going to be for you. Even if I'm on and I'm different, right? Even if I live here in the States, a Mexican that lives in the United States, I know that is different. My situation is not the same as someone that is here from the United States, someone that came here as a teenager, not speaking English, having to learn English, going blind, being a Latina in the United States, being undocumented. Yeah, I was undocumented. Being a female is all sometimes is a challenge, a limitation, right? Being in the United States, as someone with an accent, even with my blind people, I get discriminated for that, and some people have made fun of me when I've been to getting a guide dog, and I can go on and on and on. I can have rooms just about that. Incredible, right? Amazing that we actually know how it is to be discriminated and having people that is biased and prejudice, right, towards us, and we actually do the same towards other people. So that tells you, sighted world, that we blind people are people. We have those behaviors. Is it right? No, right? One of the biggest thing is that we do not support each other. We do not join each other. And as long as that is going to continue happening, we are not going to advance in anything that I just talked about. Anyway, I'm going to ask you that today, don't feel embarrassed, right? To go out there and share on your social media, hashtag what about employment for people with visual disabilities, hashtag what about employment for blind people, right? What about whatever. Visit me on Facebook. You can find me as Blind with a Vision, right? I do a lot of postings lately there. On Instagram, and I'm probably going to be opening up a room on Clubhouse maybe tonight, just to as a tribute to this day, right? Right. I'm going to go and check and see if anyone has shared with me any comments. Yeah, Rafa, I agree. We need to be the first ones that to be changing. Yeah, to make a change, we need to change. That's why I mentioned the first critical group in this whole puzzle of change, of vision, this whole puzzle of the vision with inclusion of people with disabilities is us. We play a huge, we are a big piece on this whole puzzle, right? And if we don't change, well, nothing is gonna happen. We're gonna spend another few centuries probably with the same situation. Hi Mackenzie, Merry Christmas. Trevor is saying here, yeah, those companies, they use us to advertise themselves, and we should be paid for this. I actually work for a company, like the biggest company with the happiest place on earth. I work for the most famous mouse in the world, and they had the blind person who was the first one that was hired there, training the blind, asked me if this person was getting a salary as a trainer. Of course not. But how come the other trainers were getting paid at least $2 or $3 more than what this person, whatever they were making more, more than this person? I ask over and over, is he getting paid? I mean, it's been years. He should be getting paid for that. And if they want to use our photo, they should pay for that. I agree, Trevor. Let me see. Okay. Let me see. All right. I'm going to close this right now. So thank you for joining Blind with a Vision. And I'm going to be just opening up some more lives. My next one is going to be in Spanish. For those who speak Spanish, I'm going to be here. And yeah, that is actually my vision of inclusion of people with disabilities, my whole vision. Yeah, working in this as much as I can. I know that what I just said is nothing if we don't take action. So hopefully, in the near future, Blind with a Vision and those who want to join, we're just going to be out there with all the white canes in front of the White House. You find that funny, and it sounds funny, but why not, right? Trevor, why not? Anyway, I'm going to close this. All right, I love you guys. Besos, kisses, muchos. Finish button. Bye.